Hey, it's Will Price here on 1111 at 1111 at a place that means a lot to Al Wilson Jr., a distinguished veteran dad, as he's known to many of us. You might have heard he had a heart attack, and it was minor. No stents, but no angioplasty. So it was good. They were able to just push things back, but he needed a caregiver. And it just so happened that I had just been evicted from an apartment that used to belong to his daughter Brenda. He lost it because when she died, he was the last of the heirs. He inherited it, and then COVID hit, and he was unable to keep up with the mortgage because he didn't evict people who lost their jobs and couldn't pay rent. He's a compassionate, good man. And my daughter died, and I was ran out of town for things I never did, but they had to put their anger, their hurt someplace, and I was convenient because they are, for some reason, and I don't want to, well, now I got to stay on the solution. Anyway, so when I was, lost everything because of a bunch of lies, a lie-based protective order placed against me. My ex said I did everything from, conduct emotional, mental abuse. Said that I was guilty of, physical stuff, I guess, because she said I attacked my son. My son even said no. He refused to testify against me, and I haven't spoken to my son since he betrayed me, just like my ex, when she sabotaged the business that he and I were building together to show that black dads and sons could do really good and important things. To learn about that, just go to phiers.org, phiers.org. The PH makes the F sound like philosophy or big pharma. But we're here to change the way you look at things. So Al Wilson and I had a vision where we'd prove that as dads and sons doing things that are important to everyone, that we change the way that the world sees black men, and that would get them to wake up from the matrix. And the world would be a better place if they followed our lead, because in 2009, Al, you can look everything I say is evidence-based. It's not speculative. You will find it if you just, look at the public record in California, Sacramento, SureSafe Pharmacy. What SureSafe did was sold medications without a profit motive. They would import them from places like Panama, but without markups, without middlemen, and as a result, they could undercut everyone in the industry. In 2009, when he launched SureSafe, I was launching phiers.org, spelled phiers.org. The PH makes the F sound. I can't drill that in enough, because you got to understand, not all fires are destructive, not all fires are bad. I need you to realize that some fires are all about transformation, about alchemy. And I want to show you how Al Wilson and I, what he started in 2009, I would complement and complete by inviting every person who thinks healthcare should be a human right, who's tired of big pharma profiting by making and keeping them sick, everyone who wants to fix healthcare for all, something that the Democrats need a solution to. They just screwed up the whole shutdown justification. Anyway, Al Wilson and I know how to solve that problem too. So this is what we did. He had his SureSafe pharmacy that would impact medications without a profit motive, and I would invite elderly, poor, disabled people, veterans, people with complex chronic diseases, people who needed expensive medications, to buy their medications as a group through Al Wilson's SureSafe pharmacy. At the same time, the Panama Free Trade Agreement fell through. That was under Obama. And as a result, we couldn't import the meds at the same low prices, so we had to pivot and figure out other ways to solve problems no one else was solving, so that we could prove that, when black dads and sons work together, we've got solutions that are important to everyone. So in 2009, I created phiers.org to provide a group discount buying plan. It's a co-op. It's owned by the people. Together we buy our medications as a group. And in so doing, we will be able to generate enough savings to give everyone good quality health insurance, focusing on telehealth and telemedicine. I've got videos going back to 2011 when Henry Kaiser wanted to, Henry Kaiser, he said he wanted to run fires.org, recognizing that we would generate enough savings to make this a sustainable insurance plan and health system that will be owned by the people as opposed to corporations. That's how we will create jobs that strengthens the safety net. That's how we generate enough savings to pay everyone a fair wage to contribute to society. I mean, even if you provide child or adult day health care, or maybe you're in the trades, you build stuff, you fix stuff, all of you deserve good quality free telehealth insurance at a minimum. We will pay for it out of savings. If you guys are willing to follow the plan that Al WIlson Jr. and I had, we started it in 2009. Our concepts have been validated by profitable companies that exist today. Companies like Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drug Company, which does the same thing that Al WIlson was going to do. And, that means he doesn't try to profit from medications. He has a fixed, Mark Cuban is a genius. He was one of the original sharks. And anyway, cut to the chase. So Al and I had a number of ventures along with Deb, shout out to Ray, and so many others. I can't name you all, but just know that I never launched a business because there was always a crisis that would come up that needed to be addressed, or a problem that needed to be solved, or we would just flat out be attacked because big pharma, big insurance, big business, they knew that we would get rid of the profit motive in healthcare, that we would generate enough savings to give everyone insurance, and if we're creating jobs that are paid for out of the savings, now all of a sudden we've got a stronger safety net. We've got people working together to improve each other's lives, even if you do community gardening or landscaping. If all of us are part of the same platform, then we're buying through the same solution, the same app, and it makes it easy to coordinate responses to all types of crises. Hold on a second. So to the degree that if Al WIlson had been able to import medications, again, he was thwarted because the free trade agreement fell through, and because that meant that I had no one that I could attract what is now known as everyone who hates what Donald Trump is doing. He's in decline. The GOP won the shutdown battle, and the Democrats need a solution, and Al WIlson and I had the plan. Mark Cuban proved that Al's approach to low-cost meds would work, and the telemedicine programs that are out there, telehealth insurance plans like Zort Elite Medical. If you look at everything at that Zort.com site, you'll see that I've been doing videos about that stuff from, since, I've been doing videos about that stuff since. That's how we do this. Yeah, okay. I've been doing videos about this since 2005. And my ideas have been proven to work. They're sustainable. So here, I'm going to give it to you real quick because I got to go. I got to get this uploaded and sent to you by 11/11 on 11/11. Or at 11/11 on 11/11 to prove that this really is a spiritual thing. So here's the deal. If we were to invite the nation's 175 million people in the workforce before Trump tanked the economy, the supply chain, obviously jobs, and he's tanking the dollar. He's gotten rid of our trading partners because he's alienated everyone. He's the agent of chaos, and he is an example of a destructive fire. The dragon in the Bible? Yeah, think about it. Elon Musk was selling flamethrowers, $400 a pop to anyone who wanted them. He was on Joe Rogan talking about it back in, I think, 2019. And again, everything I say is verifiably true, although the dates, they are pretty accurate, if not 100% accurate. But just check my stuff and understand I'm doing the best I can to keep up with everything, because if you want to reduce the cost of healthcare like they're talking about now, affordability, invite the 175 people that were in the workforce. Invite the 150 million people that get benefits paid for by Medicare and Medicaid, in other words, taxpayers, who pay way too much for medications because they don't buy their meds from Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drug Company. So if we were to invite everyone who likes ideas like Al WIlson's and mine, if we were to buy medications as a group, and use the money to create jobs that strengthens the safety net, to invest in farmland, food production facilities, health and hospital systems, clinics. We need nursing homes. We need training facilities so that we can start rebuilding things. We can bring back manufacturing, but guess what? You can't have affordable manufacturing of meds if you can't import medications into the U.S. without a profit motive, and that's exactly the work that Al Wilson Jr. and I have been working on since 2009. He would bring the cheap products, and the only difference is Mark Cuban's doing that now. So if you like the ideas that Al Wilson Jr. and I are focused on that will improve your life better than anyone's, because we'll generate the savings needed to make the Republicans happy, and we'll expand access to health care far enough to make the Democrats happy, so there's no reason to have a shutdown that was for nothing. Now that Trump is in decline, it's easy to show that there's a good solution out there that can complement and complete everything that Trump has broken. We can deliver on Trump's broken promises. We can create jobs. We can strengthen the safety net and therefore give everyone free insurance, which means that our union workers will get back to work. Those are the ones responsible for manufacturing, for distribution. They're at our ports, our docks, our longshoremen, our rail workers, our truckers, people who do last mile deliveries like gig workers. You know, if we were to buy our medications as a group through Mark Cuban's drug company, that would literally generate a minimum of $2.7 trillion, TRI. You can verify everything I'm saying using any of the AIs. If we bought our medications from Mark Cuban's drug company, and we had relationships with manufacturers with excess capacity so that we could make sure that everyone got the best deals, we would increase competition and drive down costs better than anything, because of the work I did with my son when we created CycDare, which is an offshoot of iCare. ICARE is the International Cancer Alliance for Research and Education, a coalition of academic researchers who practice science as a public good, who want to improve the human condition. Dr. Hankins, my friend, and the founder of iCare, discovered at this point hundreds of different ways to cure cancers, saving countless lives of people around the world, and some of the most deadly cancers, and dealing with chronic diseases. Dr. David Hankins, W.D. Hankins, he was a good friend. iCare realized that for every blockbuster drug, there's often dozens of FDA-approved alternatives and emerging alternatives that are just as effective, if not better, safer, less costly. Some of them are Ayurvedic, some of them are naturopathic, some are just food-based. We don't need patent-driven medicine for everything. These are the ideas that Al Wilson Jr. and I had, and these are the ideas that Dr. David Hankins had when he launched the first Manhattan Project for healthcare in 2009. I did a video about it, so you know that everything I'm saying is verifiably true. Look up the CycDare section on the FIRES.org website, and you will see that the ideas that Al Wilson Jr. and I had back then are the things that are needed to make America better and healthier. MABA rhymes with MAGA, only a lot better, right? So if we can create jobs that strengthens the safety net, if we can give insurance to people in unions, or we can get supply chains moving again, we can get manufacturing and distribution going again. We can even get people in the fields, planting, harvesting, and processing. You know, obviously, they got to. Why are we going to act like we can't do jobs just because they tell us robots and rich people are taking over all the jobs? If we organize and buy as a group, we can take care of our destiny. If we're importing anything from outside the U.S., we'll do so without having a profit motive, which means as America strives to get its, start manufacturing things like medications here in the U.S., based on Al Wilson's model, we can import them without the middlemen, without the markups, which means that we can influence how healthcare is done. We can help Mark Cuban get the lowest prices with the highest quality products. He doesn't have to do anything other than say thank you. This matters because Al Wilson and I wanted to show the world that when a black dad and son do what they do, the world's a better place. My son was the lead software developer at iCare. I was the chief solutions architect, and my son developed decision aids to help raise awareness about alternatives to the blockbuster drugs that are just as effective and a fraction of the cost that no one knows exists. So we can improve the human condition, get better outcomes, and less time for lower costs while helping more people. This is how we make America better and healthier. MABA. So everything Trump is doing, we can do better. Bruce Lee's instructor, the Grand Tuan Supremo, Leo Gai, the Supreme Grand Master of the combative art that Bruce Lee's instructor and taught him. So in 2005, my baby brother Steven, he also died in 2009. We recorded Bruce Lee's instructor saying that I am the yin to Trump's yang. If you don't believe me, ask all of my ops. Everyone who hates me, they know. That's why they're all trying to take me down. And they finally succeeded in dividing me and Al Wilson because he had nothing bad to say about me until 2007, and he still doesn't. It's just that he's coerced. He's being bullied by his caregiver, who refused to give medications, who literally got busted, tricking. Who knows what his daughter said about a deal to take care of Al Wilson? All I know is that Nicole Romeo Rowe basically is not trusted by Al Wilson. He had a heart attack a little over a month ago, and I was his caregiver. And I noticed things about Nicole, like not picking up medications, so I would give her warnings. Hey, well, not warnings, but she's a very confrontational person. So yeah, they were like, hey, you need to do this, and she wouldn't until he was out of medications, and some of them are important. At the same time, I heard her on a conversation where she was applying for benefits from the VA on his behalf, but she didn't even need him on the call after she got his social security number. All of this is recorded. I also have him in his own words telling you what he thinks about, well, let's just say that everything that I'm telling you is verifiably true. Check timestamps, locations, all of that stuff. When Nicole E. Romeo Rowe found out that I knew that she wasn't getting Dad's medications, that she was engaged in identity theft, and worse, financial elder abuse, because when Al's daughter died, the property that he lives in now, the marital home, was owned by him, but Nicole said that Brenda gave it to her, or sold it to her, and she wouldn't even allow him to see what the deal was. She made him sign documents even though they weren't complete, because he trusted her. And when I found out all of this, Nicole launched a smear campaign against me, convinced Dad to say some pretty bad things about me. He's being coerced because she is a bully. And everyone who knows her knows that she's guilty of all types of abuses, because the elders who live at 15066 Fuente de Paz in Rancho Murrieta, that's the house that Dad built. Anyway, when she found out that I was going to blow the whistle, she expelled me, which is the second property that I've been kicked out of that was previously owned by Al's daughter, Brenda. And he lost the property because he has a really good heart, and he didn't evict his tenants who couldn't pay rent because of COVID. And so the property became financially distressed, and as a result, he couldn't make rent, and a predator stepped in and stole his business under real suspicious. He had a bankruptcy thing going, and they invalidated it without his permission. Those people were fired, but they also need to be prosecuted because they stole Dad's apartment, and Nicole stole Dad's house by manipulating an elder, Al WIlson Jr. So this video is going out. I filed an Adult Protective Services thing against Nicole, but I also found, and it definitely interviewed Mother Claire and her son David. Everyone who lives in that house is fearful of Nicole E. Romeo Rowe. She partnered with my ex-wife, who launched a campaign similar to hers, where she sabotaged the business I was building with my son because I wanted to prove that black dads and sons could do real important things. The problem here is that she was jealous because she had her own program going. It rhymes with estimation fumigation. And it was a problem-solving program that helped smart kids become smarter. Good program. I mean, I have nothing bad to say against my ex-wife, except she got a library's protective order against me for things I never did, and she sabotaged my relationship with both of our kids and sabotaged the businesses I was building with them. The day our daughter Sydney died, we went to brunch, and we were celebrating the creation of a podcast that would help children and families living with cancer get connected to eye care through a program called Eye Care for Animals. Shout out to Ashley. Our daughter Sydney was excited about it, and so she died peacefully in her sleep next to the one she loved, and she was excited about the future. So that's not bad. I mean, if you got to go, right? I celebrate what we had together. My ex-wife was bitter. Admittedly, we didn't know why she died, and everyone blamed me because I was the last one with her. So can you imagine the trauma that I felt? How my heart was broken. Did I miss something? Was I only self-absorbed and only cared about me? Everyone hated me. And then the toxicology report came out. And it wasn't self-harm, which is what we feared, because her mother had her doing all these medications, going to all these weird places, where they were feeding her mental illness. And I taught her to breathe deeply. We had a spiritual relationship. And if you ask our neighbors, our daughter Sydney, absolutely trusted and loved me. So that being said, the day she died, we had reconciled because she told me that her mother had been sabotaging that whole venture too, which is why I never fought for it, because the kids hated me. They wouldn't talk to me after. They did really good work, which is showcased at the Fires.org website under the section called Psychdare, SIICDARE, which I created with Sid's brother, Terrence. As partners with Al Wilson, he was a part of SureSafe because Psychdare, because Psychdare would raise awareness about alternatives to blockbuster drugs using the process that Dr. David Hankins used when he made eye care a thing that's honored by scientists around the world, scientists who want to improve the human condition. The business that Dr. Hankins and I were building with my kids, Terrence and Sid, Eye Care for Animals, and Psychdare, the Society of International Infectious and Chronic Disease Associates, Researchers, and Educators. Terrence did videos about it. We did videos on how to help healthcare together. My ex-wife sabotaged that just like Nicole sabotaged my relationship with Al Wilson. And that's the reason that, once she sabotaged it and kicked me out, that's how I became homeless. And I'm living in my car, no income, no food, water. I'm hurting. And nobody cares. And it's all because I stood up to someone who was abusing Al Wilson Jr., a decorated veteran. He and I knew that by working together, we could solve problems no one else on the planet could solve. And I'm going to do that by getting this video uploaded by 11/11. All right? Peace. Oh, and don't believe what you heard about me as it relates to the protective orders. Nicole, just like me, taped everything. So if there's evidence that any of the things that we talk about or that's been attributed to me, let me say it differently. There's no proof that I've done anything she says I have, because they would have it recorded already, right? And there would be complaints. The same goes to my ex-wife, where I asked her like 37 times, it's all documented, whether or not I'm guilty of any of the things she said. And if so, when did it happen? What exactly happened? Who knew? And what happened afterwards? She had to retract everything she said about me. So the purpose of this video is to make sure you know that we really can solve problems important to all of humanity when black dads and sons work together to make America better and healthier. This is the reason you need to honor and respect what Al Wilson has done, but I got to create a much shorter version of this video. Peace.